Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Fish Tank. So perhaps some people might say the unlucky episode, but unluckily for you, I'm about to play guitar. That was part of Brainstorm by the Arctic Monkeys, and I played that because the Arctic Monkeys have just released their second album this week, so it's a very good album, so all go out and buy it. It's the looks like it's going to be the highest selling album of the year so far, so I urge you to get into shops and purchase it. And it's also the music to the video Brian Law's Storm that was created by Jimbo from www.jimbostudios.com, which is a very good video, although I wouldn't particularly say it's 3 times better than the whole collection of the Fish Tanks. However, it has had 3 times more viewers than all of the Fish Tanks so far. So there you go. We're in a society that's perhaps weighted towards football, but not to worry. So yes, I'm back in Loughborough at the moment, and hence me playing the guitar, and it's time for Apology of the Week. And I would like to apologise if there was any problems with the volume on last week's episode. That's basically because I wasn't sure how loud to talk because I had actually gone deaf in one of my ears. Obviously in my ears, it's not going to have gone deaf in my right kneecap, I suppose. But I'd sealed my eardrum up with wax and thus couldn't hear anything in my right ear for about a week or so, which was particularly annoying. But oh well, not particularly life-threatening, so to speak. Although I suppose it is the unlucky episode, so I'm perhaps lucky not to have continued with my deafness. So it's not the unlucky episode. Who knows? I'm not a really big superstitious man, to be honest. But anyway, what's been happening this week? Well, obviously I'm back in Loughborough. I'm, to be honest, a little bit worried what with the massacre that happened in Virginia Tech University in America. But I suppose I've got different arms laws there, so hence the massacre happening. So I'm obviously perhaps a little bit safer in Loughborough, even though there was the shooting here about a month ago. But not to worry. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of America anyway. If you look at the presidents, what current one is George Bush, and before him you had Bill Clinton. The one before him was George Bush again, George W. Bush's dad. So out of the last 3 presidents, you've had 2 in the bush, and then Clinton, who enjoyed a bird in the hand. So that's America for you. Well, the Cricket World Cup is still going on, as it has been for quite a significant period of time now. I think it's 6 weeks it's been going, and Sri Lanka are through to the final, having beaten New Zealand. So if you predicted that one, you're really clever. If you thought Sri Lanka were going to lose to New Zealand, then you're a bit stupid, really, I suppose, because it was really an open and shut case right from the start. You should have known that Sri Lanka were going to win that match. So anyway, that's the Cricket World Cup. England are out because they're a bit rubbish, but oh well. Duncan Fletcher said apparently that the World Cup came a year too soon for this current team of players. So I presume in the 2011 World Cup the coach will say, well, unfortunately the tournament has come 3 years too late for us. So he's basically given an excuse that's going to cover 2 tournaments, so I suppose good bit of thinking. But also the weather has been ridiculously hot over the past few days. Apparently it's reached up to 23 degrees Celsius, which is quite warm. By the way, if you're an old person used to dealing in Fahrenheit, it's reached temperatures high enough for you to take off a cardigan. So if that's any help for you. Right, I was reading a story earlier on as well, that apparently it said that a 2.5-year-old boy had got his head stuck in a toilet seat in Essex. So, right, I was thinking, 2.5-year-old boys, they've got a head sort of like that's smaller than mine, because I've got like an average sized head. And, yeah, toilet seats, I could probably get my head down the toilet seat. I've not tried it, but I probably could. So how did this 2.5-year-old boy get his head stuck in a toilet seat? I want you to write in, leave comments, because no one left a comment last week, which was not very nice. I'd do that. I like to get a bit of feedback, and I'd like to comment from someone at least. Yeah, so leave us a note as to theories as to exactly how this 2.5-year-old boy managed to get his head stuck in the toilet. Because do you think he had an abnormally large head, or an abnormally small toilet seat perhaps? Well, the fire brigade had to be called for him to get his head out of the toilet seat. So there you go. But anyway, it's time for the celeb-ometer as well. And well, I'm back in Loughborough. I'm about to go and play badminton as well. in the National Badminton Centre, so I might bump into a celebrity there, perhaps a celebrity badminton player who might be able to appear on the fish tank, who knows. And also, apparently soon, Barry from EastEnders will be coming down to Loughborough, so perhaps he could appear on the fish tank as the celebrity. Who knows? It could be quite good if he does. Perhaps he'd bring the agent with him, Darren Lamb, and say, "Oh look, it's only Barry." So there you go. And anyway, it comes to the time of the show where I must give out the headline. And this week's headline comes from my own paper. It comes from Sheffield Star, my own local paper. I'm back in Sheffield, and it says, "Worksop man dies of natural causes." So I presume it must have been given on a day when it was fairly slow going for news. If someone dying of natural causes gets the front page headline, because that was on the front page. So either that, or I know Sheffield's a fairly rough city, but not everyone there gets murdered. Alright, so it's not the fact that someone dies of natural causes is not sort of massively big news. It's not like a huge change. This week's quotation comes from Terry Venables as well, and he says, "If you can't stand the heat in the dressing room, get out of the kitchen." So I'm not sure what he's talking about there. I mean, if you can't stand the heat in the dressing room, get out of the kitchen. Perhaps if you do get out of the kitchen, you might go into the dressing room where it's even hotter. So I've got no idea what he's going on about there. I think he's got a little bit mixed up for a man who is formerly the England manager. So, well, not to worry. Anyway, that brings a conclusion to today's show. So feel free to leave comments about how that child managed to get his head stuck in the toilet. And I'll leave you with news that apparently the deck chair attendant has apparently collapsed on Brighton Beach. And it took 4 people about half an hour to work out how to stand him back up again. So, see you next week.